Merry 25 days of Christmas. Today we're going to be going over my favorite one and done shadows. So I've got a couple new ones, I've got a couple in palettes, and I've got some singles here for you. So let's get started. The first shadow that is probably one that, you can find in your collection that it's very common, I would say, is the shade in Being Bad Feels Pretty Good by Physicians Formula. It was their Breakfast Club collab, and it's Five Strangers. Opening up the palette, it's this shade right here. This shadow on the lid looks just absolutely stunning. It's very light, so it's extremely light reflective, and it would be really good for anybody with deep set eyes, but I find this extremely handy when maybe I just brush some bronzer on the the crease or the brow, the brow arch kind of area, and then just sweep it out. And then I add this shadow in the mobile lid and then just kind of blend it out. It's super light and airy, so I don't have to pay too much attention to, how much I'm putting on or whether I'm getting things very, precise, I should say. I can just kind of feel really, really relaxed when using this shadow. So I really, really like it as a one and done. That's one from a palette, but you can find it in singles as well. And the shadow that I'm thinking of is Sydney Grace's Blushed. And from Makeup Geek, I think it's either Legend or Flamethrower. I think it's Legend. No, it might be Grandstand. That one I also like to use quite frequently as a one and done shadow. Or maybe just bronzer. Okay, we'll also limit it to bronzer as well. Okay, next one. This probably isn't going to be a shocker if you've been subscribed to my channel for any amount of time, but if you're new here, thanks so much for stopping by, and a special welcome to you. Subscribe if you haven't. It is free. It's Sydney Grace's Tiara. Tiara is a gorgeous, highly reflective, metallic, I would say warm taupe shade, but it is a silvery taupe shade nonetheless. This one's a little harder to use as one and done. I definitely do have to extend my bronzer into the crease with my bronzer brush, and then I can put this on just because it is really, really reflective, and it is super metallic, and it looks very silver on the eye. So yes, I do slip some bronzer in the crease. I will say that much. It's not like a true one and done, but it is still one of my favorite shadows to wear by itself nonetheless. Now this shade right here is also by Sydney Grace. It's Hot Stuff, and it's one of my favorite duochromes. It's of the neutral variety, and it has a beautiful bronze shimmer, and it is on kind of a reddish brown base. So it does have a duochrome vibe to it, but I will say that it's very, very subtle. So when you're blending this shade out on the lid, so I'm applying the shadow all over and I don't even need any bronzer in the crease, I can take this straight up a little bit over my crease, a little bit into that orbital bone, and I can blend out the undertone or that base shadow, which is kind of a warm reddish brown, and it looks like I slipped some, beautiful terracotta red into the crease, maybe of the satin finish. That is a true metallic duochrome that I really like, and it's one of the reasons that I am just fascinated by duochromes, is because of the versatility that they offer. Speaking of duochromes, I also love to wear Makeup Geek's Insomnia. And if you happen to be fortunate enough to have one in pan form, it is one of the best blue-brown formulas, right next to MAC's Blue Brown. But you can also use Sydney Grace's Red Chameleon. The shade also in Urban Decay's brand is called Lounge. Now, I recently saw in one of the Violet Voss palettes, and it was the olive wood palette, I think it was. I'm not exactly sure. It had a duochrome. This is a pretty popular type of pigment. The base is red. It's kind of vermilion terracotta shade, and then it has a green blue shimmer over the top, making it a wonderful candidate for a one and done shadow because you get to just blend out that undertone. It blends away that shimmer and it leaves you with that red base, and it looks like you put a beautiful red in the crease that you can kind of see at an angle, and then all you see on the lid is that teal blue shade. So it's very beautiful, and it's one of the only ways I can wear a blue shadow, but it's also one of the most fun ways to wear a shadow. This shade by Makeup Geek, Mesmerized, also I would equate Natasha Denona's Vintage to this shade. It's from her blue brown or her blue purple palette. Vintage is pretty close to this shade. Also, Sydney Grace has, I wouldn't say Paris is very close to this shade, but I would say that there are some Sydney Grace shadows that are, you know, in that same hue and finish. And they also make great one and done as well. I just grabbed Mesmerized because it was one that I talk about a lot on my channel, so I really wanted to feature it as one of my favorite one and dones. Also has a little bit of, I call it an oxidation ring, but it just looks like it when you blend it out. It does have a little bit of a base to it. It does seem to be, you know, shimmer specific. So like if you blend it too much, or if you blend it just slightly, you are actually blending the shimmer pigment. So it's not really like it has a base and then it has a shimmer on top like a true duochrome, but it does kind of mimic that duochrome vibe. So I like it in the crease. Again, probably after I bronze my skin, I will use this shadow and just kind of put it in the crease on the mobile lid, and then just kind of sparsely add it to the inner corner. Well, the inner 1/3 of my lid from there. So it's another beautiful shade. It's just a really beautiful purple, and I think it accentuates my blue eyes. From the Flower Beauty Desert Lights palette, my favorite one and done shadow would probably have to be Red Rocks, which is this shade right here, followed closely by Terra. But Terra is not quite 100% a shimmer, so when you're putting it on, sometimes it kind of crumbles, and it's not my favorite to use as a one and done, but just as an honorable mention, there you go. It is a very beautiful shade to use as a one and done, but it takes a little more finagling. I like this shade because Red Rocks is just so metallic and so ultra buttery. I do recommend applying it with your finger, but like you see in the demonstration here, I also will show you how I apply it with a brush. It will apply much more, what is the term that I'm looking for? I think it'll apply a lot more faint as far as the shimmer and luster goes if you apply it with a brush, but if you wet your brush, you can definitely get the same effect. Thank you all so much for joining me in today's video. I hope you guys are enjoying the 25 days of Christmas. Merry Christmas and happy holidays from our house to yours. And I can't wait to see you guys in my next video. Bye.